So once they have experienced the lesson, then you want them to put the teacher hat on and unpack or debrief what happened, so they can look at the critical points that will be important to them as teachers. So right now, you two guys, why don't you talk to each other about scaffolding and classroom management, and why don't you two folks talk about reflection and assessment? How did you see me use it in the lesson? What are your own ideas about how, if you were teaching this lesson, you would like to do it? But these are very important components of our teaching, our pedagogy. So how did you experience it? And how would you want to do it if you were doing it? Okay? What did you see me do that you might want to use? Or what would you do if you were the one leading it?
Could you define scaffolding?
Yes. Scaffolding means to me is that if I come in, I'm not going to just say, okay, everybody, this is creative dance. I want you to make a creative shape showing me, I want you to make a group creative shape showing me Kuyo's achievements. Go. So rather than that, I took you through it. I gave you some tools, I brought you to this place, then I got you to this place, and then I brought you to that. Some people refer to it as steps and procedures, but it's like how you build a lesson. If somebody comes in, they don't know anything, how do you get them to the top place? You know, what are the levels? What are the steps you take? So it's like that, introducing something, give them something simple first and then make it a little harder afterwards. So within this context, what were the simple things? How do you do the simple things? And what were the more complex things? So why did I structure the lesson the way I did? That's kind of what I mean. And that can often get back into this part, classroom management. Okay? So does that help you?
Yes.
All right, and I'm sure that Joy will help you too, and so will Mauli. Is everybody clear on your assignment? Take a few minutes to talk about that. Go. So let's share a little bit, okay? So let's start with you folks, because you were the first part of the list up there. Scaffolding, and what do you think about, let's take scaffolding.
So right at the beginning, you started off with focus, and that was a huge major base for what we're going to do today, because you taught how to focus your attention, and that was a muscle that they had to work on by grounding themselves and focusing with, and then you did the distractions, and you pretended about an elephant, and you said, so it was nice that you taught them how to focus and how to relax from that, and then go back to that focus. So that way, if someone's being silly next to you, like Christina's doing all kinds of moves, but I wasn't even looking at her because I really wanted to get mine moved down. So it really helped. That focus, we thought, was a real big one.
Could I just say that that is there, I mean, we have a brilliant educator he's based in DC. His name is Sean Lane. And he comes to the islands frequently. He goes all over the nation, and even the world, but especially the nation, because he's a drama guy, but he really worked on focus. And he's written a book about it, but he's got some fabulous techniques that he uses, and he's taught them to many of us. And then, for example, myself, I don't do it exactly the way he does it, but I use a lot of what he taught me, and I put it there. But I have to go back to that all the time. Sometimes I'll walk into a class, the kids are so eleu, they're so ready to learn, they already have focus. Everything is going well. I don't bother with it, because they already got it, it's good. We just go right into the work and do it. But other times it can be the whole main part of my lesson is just getting them to focus. And then we do a little bit, and then I'm like, we gotta go back, excuse me, let's go back, because they're not able to. I went to Hanalei, a couple of the fourth grades, half my lesson was just focus, getting your focus. Because they come in without any at all. And you really can't do the work. There's no point. It becomes wild and it's not productive for anyone. So we had a few challenging students in your class, and sometimes I have to go back. I teach with Brenda a lot. So sometimes I have to go back to it. So it's feeling the children out, but definitely they can't do this work successfully and with excellence if they don't have it. And once they start making shapes, they want to talk to each other and they want to laugh about it. And even if they're making suffering, they'll be very silly. So then the work will not be excellent. So then I'm like, oh, let's go back, because excellence is the goal. And so the focus is going to be the key to it. And most teachers really, that's in part why this man, Sean Lane's work is so successful, because teachers are like, yeah, that's what they need. So thanks for noticing it, and I really give him a lot of credit for helping me. Pardon? Sean is his first name, S-E-A-N, and his last name is Lane, L-A-Y-N-E. He has a new book out. He doesn't come to Kauai very much, but he comes frequently to Oahu and Maui. They bring him over there to work with teachers a lot. So if you ever do hear that he's giving Melanie Rick, who just gave a workshop, she was his wife for a long time. And now they're divorced, but they're very happy and they still work together. So she also uses his work all the time when she teaches. So yeah, he does a great job. All right, so there was that. Any other comments about scaffolding or classroom management?
How you kept it moving. You incorporated both the movement and the talking and the visuals, and we were never stuck talking too much. It was so, you had to stay focused in order to keep going.
So you're telling this story,
It was beautiful.
and we're all buying into it, and then we know that in about one more minute, you're gonna ask us to act out that emotion. Something, okay, all right, baby, mine, like that.
Yeah.
So it was nice that I was getting good information that I really wanted to know about, but I also knew I wasn't going to be like this for another half hour, that it was only going to be 5 minutes and I was going to have to get up and do something. So I was actually getting like a workout in while I was learning. And the visual helps me picture who's who as you can.
Yeah.
And we liked it that you brought the poster close to us. So
Yeah.
Yes, that was a simple thing, but it was very meaningful.
Yes, because otherwise it's like a lot of shiny pictures from far away. It doesn't really mean as much. But in terms of classroom management, I have the children far apart, I have the children far back. That's another strategy that even if you want to have space in the classroom, the moving of the chairs and the creating of the space, the coming together, the going apart, all of that are instructions that you have to train them in. And then they can get it and they can do it. But you want to be able to know. And there was something in our time where we had transitions. So the transitions from one thing to the other are enjoyable and not disruptive. Or, for example, I know already when I ask children to come together, before I say come together, I say now, think. I want kindness and I want safety. If I hear one ow, you're all going back, we're going to do it again. Because you should be able to come together close so you can see these pictures without hurting each other. That's kindness, it's thoughtfulness, and it's safety. So I'm going to watch. I'll give you 5 counts. Now somebody said something about timing too. I often give them a time limit, what it will take. Not that they should race to do it, but it must be accomplished. You get all the Miliapa ones who are not coming, and like, excuse me, but you're late. We were already going on. I gave you 5 counts and you're not here.
So you set the objective. I want you sitting down by the time I get to 10, not at 1. You're not going to be here at 1.
Yeah.
You're going to be here at 10. So everybody, 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
4.
This is not a race.
So
You have your
when you're
time.
doing the poses, you have 4 seconds to get there. Don't just zip into it.
Yes.
Like Christine took her time to get into her pose.
Yes.
And so taking the time makes it flow. Like you said, not this race. Zip. I want to be first at the carpet.
Yeah.
I like that.
And if you take too much time, then what happens?
They lose interest and then they start talking to each other and it's over. So the
You make them-
timing.
Then you make them do what? Just go back to their seat or what?
Oh no, if they take too much time, I just call their attention to the fact that they're late and then I go on with the class. And then afterwards, generally, if there's anybody who's really dysfunctional within the class, I'll talk to them afterwards. But if I don't know them, I talk to the teacher, and say, what's up? Because if the child is experiencing a terrible divorce or something like that, which is usually what makes them act so weird, then I have more compassion for them. And instead of wanting to strangle them, I'm like, poor baby, and you're more understanding, but they still need the structure and whatever. But you have the 20, so you don't want to lose time on the 1 or 2. And so usually I deal with the more after and just, and then before I'm like, excuse me, do you remember last time? Okay, what are you going to do this time? Tell me what you're going to do. Make them acknowledge what the good behavior that you're expecting and they have to say it. Well, let's shake on that, and agree to it or something.
The attention to improve, not the attention to reprimand.
Right.
And the negative feedback you're giving them. This is what are you going to do? Are you ready? Because they want to show you how smart they are. That's half the problem with most of the children that are
Yes.
little, is they're actually really smart. And they want, so.
Yeah, they get bored easily.
Yeah.
Which brings me back to the timing. And that's what, sometimes when I observe other people that are teaching, I'm like, well, that was too long talking. You know, it's the timing between listening, doing, talking to each other, working by yourself, working with a partner, working with a group. All of the timing aspects is what you have to, as you're working, you notice. Because if it gets, classroom management, if it starts to get really chatty, they're bored. Or they're ready to move on, or something is not it. So they've been sitting there for too long. So to me, I don't want them to sit for too long. I don't want them to stand for too long. Right. I don't want, you can't keep up, they can't keep up this dancing. They get, and then it just gets repetitive and the quality is gone. So even in the movement, they can't do it forever, you know? So you have to think of all the things you want them to do. You want them to learn something about a content. You want them to learn about dance. You want them to think about what they're doing. You want them to actually do. And for me, a lot of, I didn't emphasize it too much with y'all because y'all were so good students, but I always make them speak. After they have their little pear share or whatever, you have to stand up, and they stand up like this. You know, and just calmly, okay, stand and speak. Tell your sentence. And then it's a struggle for many of our children to say a sentence. So in my creative dance classes, if you ever come watch me, we speak. There'll be a lot of speaking. They dance, sit down, talk about it. Hey, you stand up. And not just the kid who raises the hand. You have to be like, I tell them beforehand, after you watch them, I can call on any one of you because you're all responsible to be able to say this. So I can call on any, because everybody raised their hand, it's the same ones. So then you go to one, you don't want to make the shy one cry, you know, but now I'm going to call on you, so be ready. You know, I let them know. So that is part to me, even though I'm teaching creative dance, but I want to educate the whole child. So I want the child to think, and I want the child to be able to speak and articulate their thinking. And that they really need a lot of help with that. To me, that's very much part of language arts, to be able to use your language orally. But timing is part of scaffolding and part of classroom management. If you're losing your kids, it could be the timing. Yeah, you need to have the varied activity.
You're working them too hard, they need like those little breaks, or you're not working them enough,
Mm-hmm.
and they're losing interest, their focus.
And they need that variety. The one thing to sit too long, to stand too long, to move too long, all of that gotta go.
One other thing is that
Please.
what you did was you isolated focus as a muscle, which is never done that I know of. I mean, I'm not a teacher.
Your focus muscle,
Yeah, it's brilliant. And you also isolated the emotion about what they were learning, and you had them do that. So that, just learning that is amazing.
You know,
Stopped it long enough so they could go there.
thank you. You know, the part about the focus is that a lot of children don't have it very good. And, you know, I don't have good abs because I don't use them and I don't do it regularly. And I do think that I want them to know they can get better and that it's not, if they don't have it, because a lot of them just do not have it. They have all that ADD thing and whatever, and they're, you know. So if I use it as a muscle and talk about it like that, it helps them to know that, yeah, I can get better. If I keep practicing, I can have more, you know. Let's hear from these guys before we have to wrap it up. What did you think about reflection and assessment? How can we help our children do it better?
Well, I noticed what you said about you stopped them for long enough. So, yeah, we had a conversation about both of these things, but in terms of reflection, to the way that you integrated the movement into it is very reflective. The way that we got to respond to other groups, to sit, to freeze, to stop, to be up, down. There was a pause in it. There was an opportunity for kids to you know, the purpose of reflection in my mind is to integrate the learning into themselves. So
Yes.
that was really positive, I thought.
One thing that we actually didn't talk about, but as you guys were talking, I thought of it, with the paired sharing, and this is management also, but you strategically thought of the questions that they would pair share about, and you gave them a very clear directive. This is your topic of conversation. And whatever those chosen things you gave us to talk about really took us to the deeper level of reflecting on what we had just learned. So that was, that's something you have to plan out. What am I going to ask them to talk about? And then that also takes, it's not like, oh, talk about what we just learned, because that will go off on all different tangents, but it was so directed. And then knowing, this is kind of management too, but knowing that you have that short time to do it really gets you to dig out that answer quicker. And because she's going she's going to call us back to share in a minute. But you want to dig into it quicker with your partner and be more reflective.
I just want to say I just really, really like the movement as a means of reflection, because here you were teaching us about this really important part of Hawaiian history and this one very, very important person and what he went through in his life, and to create a movement that shows what you just taught us is really valuable, and to incorporate emotion into that. It's a way of bringing it into the body and the mind and
And
sharing
the heart,
it.
getting
and
you
the
to
heart.
care about it a little, yeah?
It's that's a nice addition to everything that I've learned about what reflection is.
Great, and I think when you folks were talking too, that I want to say that it's not just the timing of having them do different things, but I think making the shape, it helps to ground them in their understanding of what the concept or the word is, and it helps them to remember. So it helps them to really experience it and feel it, and then that's going to help them to remember what it is. So it serves a couple of purposes.
It's like the quote, I don't know if it was Maya Angelou or who, but she says, you won't remember what was said to you, but you'll remember how it made you feel.
Yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
I really felt like the history of the lesson.
Yeah.
You walked in his shoes
Yeah,
the way
so
you would
good.
walk.
And the final thing when you leave them is encouragement. Let them talk to each other about what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. If they're in the same school, encourage them to talk to each other and work with each other about, and touch base. How did it go? Did you use it? Like that, so that they feel encouraged and they have incentive to want to do this, to get excited about doing it. Hopefully you've excited them because they've enjoyed the lesson and they've seen how powerful it is. Sometimes, if you have time in your PD, is to show them examples through video of what students can do, because this also will excite them. But you want to leave them excited.